There is a specific kind of silence that follows collapse, not the comfortable silence of rest or the peaceful silence of a calm evening. This is different. This is the silence that settles in after something inside you has given way. After a relationship ends and you sit in a room that used to feel warm, and now it just feels like a room. After you lose a job, a dream, a version of yourself you worked years to build. After failure finds you not once, but repeatedly, as if it has your name written somewhere and keeps returning to remind you. After rejection has come so many times that you stop being surprised by it and start wondering if something is fundamentally wrong with you. You know what that feels like. That hollowness in the chest. That low, quiet heaviness that follows you from morning to night. You wake up and for one brief moment, everything feels normal. And then it comes back. The weight of whatever it is you are carrying. And you lie there, not quite ready to move, not quite sure what you are moving toward. Most people have been there. But very few people talk honestly about what that place actually teaches you. People will tell you to stay positive. They will tell you to focus on the good. They will hand you words like it gets better, and everything happens for a reason. And while those words may be well-intentioned, they often miss the deeper truth. They skip over something important. Something that, if you understand it correctly, can change everything about how you see your pain. Being broken is not just a low point. For those who are willing to look at it with clear eyes, it is one of the most clarifying experiences a human being can go through. Let me explain what I mean. When life is comfortable, when things are going reasonably well, most people live inside a set of illusions. They believe their relationships are stronger than they are. They believe they are more prepared than they actually are. They believe they know who they are. They believe they understand people and the world and themselves. Comfort allows illusion to survive. When you do not need to question things, you do not question them. You simply continue forward inside the story you have built about your life. But when something breaks, the illusions go with it. Suddenly, you see things as they actually are. You discover which relationships were real and which ones were convenient. You discover which parts of your identity were genuinely yours and which parts you had borrowed from other people's expectations. You discover what you actually value when the performance ends and you are left alone with your own reflection. You discover your real capacity for discipline, for patience, for honesty, for endurance. That kind of clarity is rare. Most people never get it because they never allow themselves to sit inside the discomfort long enough for it to teach them something. The person who has never been truly broken often has a confidence that is untested. They believe in themselves, but they have never had to find out if that belief holds under pressure. They have never had to rebuild. They have never had to look at the pieces of something they lost and decide what to do next. And there is no criticism in saying that. It is simply a different kind of life. But the person who has been broken, and I mean genuinely broken, not just inconvenienced, but deeply shaken at the level of identity and hope. That person carries something different inside them. If they choose to use it, they carry knowledge. Real knowledge. The kind you cannot read in a book or learn in a seminar. The kind that only comes from having walked through something and come out the other side changed. Pain, when you stop running from it, becomes information. It tells you what is real and what is not. It tells you what you can depend on and what was always fragile. It tells you where you were pretending to be strong when you were actually avoiding something. It strips away the performance and leaves you with only what is true. And that is where the advantage begins. Because when a person has been broken, they face a choice that most people never have to face with that level of seriousness. They can stay on the ground, or they can rebuild. Those are the only two directions. There is no third option. You either allow what broke you to define the rest of your life, or you take what broke you and begin the long, quiet work of building something more honest in its place. Staying on the ground looks different for different people. For some, it becomes bitterness, a quiet resentment that spreads slowly over time. coloring how they see new people, new opportunities, new possibilities. They stop trying, not loudly or dramatically, but gradually, in small ways, until one day they realize they have not genuinely invested in anything for years. The pain that was once sharp becomes a dull background weight they carry everywhere. They never fully move, and they never fully stop. They simply exist in the space between what happened and what could have been. That is one path. The other path is harder. It requires something most people are not willing to give, because it cannot be given in a single dramatic moment. It can only be given quietly, repeatedly, over a long period of time. It requires the choice to rebuild. Rebuilding does not look like what motivational content often shows you. It does not look like a sudden transformation. It does not look like finding your purpose in one powerful moment of clarity. It does not look like waking up one morning and feeling completely different. Rebuilding looks like making one small, honest decision today, even when you do not feel like it. It looks like choosing discipline on a morning when you have no motivation and no particular reason to believe it will lead anywhere. It looks like sitting with your own discomfort instead of immediately escaping it. It looks like asking yourself hard questions and being willing to hear the answers even when the answers are unflattering. It looks like developing the ability to be still, to not react to every emotion the moment it arrives, to observe your own patterns without judgment, and then to slowly, deliberately begin to change them. That is where real strength is built, not in the moment of crisis, but in the long, unglamorous period that follows it. The person who rebuilds after being broken develops something that the person who was never tested does not have in the same way. They develop a relationship with pain that is different. They know they can survive it. They know that the thing they feared, the collapse, the loss, the failure, they know they walked through it and they are still here. That knowledge changes how fear operates inside them. They do not become fearless. Fearlessness is not the goal, and it is not realistic, but they become more honest with their fear. They recognize it earlier. They learn not to let it make their decisions for them. They develop the capacity to feel something difficult and continue functioning anyway. Not because they are suppressing the feeling, but because they have learned that feelings are not instructions. They are information, and you can receive information without being controlled by it. That is emotional maturity, and it is one of the most powerful things a person can develop, but it rarely comes without having been through something that required it. Think about the people you most respect. Not the loudest ones, not the ones performing confidence for an audience. Think about the people who carry themselves with a kind of quiet steadiness that you feel more than see. The ones who do not panic easily. The ones who speak from experience rather than from theory. The ones who, when things go wrong, seem to draw on something internal rather than reaching outward for reassurance. Almost without exception, those people have been through something. They did not arrive at that steadiness naturally. It was built, and the material they built it from was not comfort. It was not ease. It was the same material most people spend their lives trying to avoid. Suffering does not automatically make a person strong. That needs to be said clearly, because suffering alone is neutral. It is what you do with it that determines its outcome. Pain that is never examined becomes resentment. Pain that is blamed entirely on others becomes victimhood. Pain that is buried becomes anxiety. Pain that is worn as an identity becomes a trap. But pain that is faced, understood, owned, and used, that pain becomes something else entirely. It becomes the foundation of a self that is no longer built on illusion. A self that knows what it can endure. A self that has been tested and has chosen, despite everything, to keep building. That is what no one admits about being broken. It is not something to simply survive and put behind you as quickly as possible. It is something to move through slowly enough to learn what it has to teach you. Because what it has to teach you cannot be found anywhere else. The person who has done that work carries themselves differently. They are slower to judge others because they know how quickly a life can unravel. They are slower to give up because they have already survived the thing they thought would end them. They are more deliberate in how they build their relationships, their habits, and their identity because they understand now what it costs when those things are built on something unstable. They are not perfect. Rebuilding does not produce perfection. It produces honesty. It produces a clearer understanding of who you are and of what you actually stand for when no one is watching and nothing is going well. And that clarity, that honest, hard-earned self-knowledge is worth more than any amount of untested confidence. Because it holds when pressure is applied. Every person who has ever rebuilt themselves started somewhere that felt inadequate, started with something that felt too small to matter, and continued anyway. You are allowed to grieve what you lost. You are allowed to acknowledge how heavy this has been. You are allowed to sit in the difficulty without pretending it is not difficult. That honesty is part of the process. But you are not allowed to confuse grief with finality. Being broken is a condition, not an identity. It is where you are, not who you are. And who you are is being determined right now, not by what happened to you, but by what you choose to do inside the experience of it, by whether you face it or avoid it, by whether you let it teach you or simply endure it. By whether you rebuild more carefully, more honestly, more deliberately than you built before. The people who are hardest to break are not the ones who have never been broken. They are the ones who have been broken and chose to rebuild. They are the ones who understand in their bones that they have already survived the worst version of a thing they feared. And that knowledge, that specific personal knowledge, does not leave them. It becomes part of the structure of who they are. You do not get that from comfort. You do not get it from ease. You get it from going through something that required everything you had and finding out that you had enough. And if you are going through it right now, you are in the middle of building something the world cannot give you and cannot take from you. This is the advantage no one admits, that the experience of being broken, moved through with honesty and intention, does not weaken you. It becomes the very thing that makes you difficult to destroy. Take your time. Do the work. Rebuild slowly and honestly. If this reached something inside you, leave one comment below. Just 2 words. Rebuilt, not broken.